do this. I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. This is This Week in Recruiting.
Brilliant.
It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter, Next Level D1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. And, of course, this segment is brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express, I don't even know if their sponsorship has expired or anything. We're just going to keep talking about them.
It's a great time to go out and get an ice-cold, refreshing tea. Sweet tea.
Oh, that sounds so
unsweet
good.
Tea. As the temperature goes up, there's only one good thing to cool you down, and that's
half
chicken
sweet, half
sweet
unsweet,
tea.
I think.
I will cape for the unsweet tea. I think I've made my opinions known about about sweet tea. Just too sweet for me. Just
you need to get half and half.
I'm okay with half and half.
I can't drink the sweet tea all. You got to get half and half for
sweet,
it to be
unsweet, or half and half. Doesn't matter. It's all great.
That tea there, I don't know what they do. I don't know where they get their leaves from, but
wherever they get their leaves.
You know where they're getting it from? Heaven.
There you go. Chicken Express. Tea leaves from heaven.
This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers and Next Level Athlete. A lot to get to. Let's start with our prospect on the rise. Our prospect on the rise, let's go out to Allen. Perhaps you've heard of them. Talk about their soon-to-be senior offensive lineman, Kasen Carpenter, who picked up a Power 5 offer this week from Texas Tech. He's got 16 offers, including the service academies, plus places like Arkansas State, North Texas, Tulsa, Liberty, etc. He transferred in from Midlothian Heritage.
Correct.
With I presume this has to do, am I making the connection here? Lee Wigginton brought his dad along on his staff at Allen. Is that the connection
Correct.
here? Okay.
Yep, that's how he got to Allen, and really he's a really talented offensive lineman. He's a little bit undersized at 6'3", 265 pounds, but he's started to add some positive weight to his frame, and I think that's where you've started to see him blow up. I love him as an offensive center prospect. Played a lot of tackle at Midlothian Heritage last year, left tackle. He is as technique sound as you will find. As a matter of fact, around the Next Level Athlete camp invite time, Midlo Heritage sent over their recruiting sheet, with their recommendations of players who could come to the camp, and so I evaluated, all the guys who they wanted to get in. And this is the one that really jumped. Their quarterback is really good, by the way, Midlo Heritage. But this is the tape that really jumped out to me because of how technique sound he was, how good his feet were, hand placement. He did everything, all the little things right. And I remember sending Coach Wigginton a message back and saying, hey, this kid could be special. At that time, he had 0 offers, and he's kind of blown up now. I think he's got 16 scholarship offers. You mentioned a lot of the schools that have stepped up, but this is a huge one in Texas Tech because I think that he could go over there, fit in with the system, and play center probably at a P5 level. And he's only going to get better as he matures and adds mass and strength and the strength and conditioning program. And this is a huge pickup for Allen, too, in a way, because their offensive line is good, but this makes them, to me, it's a great high school offensive line now.
Well, one of the things they were worried about, I know, at Allen, is that they were going to be that this offensive line was not going to be as strong as it has been in the past years. That's an unfair bar. I mean, because they've had some of the best offensive lines that we've seen in recent high school football history. But I will say that adding a guy with the versatility like Kasen Carpenter is going to be interesting. And I think it's interesting that you say that he could play at center because the first thing that I go to is center's the quarterback of the offensive line, right? Coach's kid. All those things tick. There's a lot of things that fall into place here whenever you think about it. Coach's kid, Joey McGuire getting in on him early, things like that. All of these things kind of line up as far as making sense.
And I'd like to clarify a little bit of a statement, too, when you say undersized. And I say that, and some people would probably hear that as like a critique or a criticism of a prospect. When I say it, I mean that as a complimentary thing because I think that he has the frame to add to that. So right now he's and we've had guys in here, recruiting experts like Gabe Brooks, where we've discussed like how rankings work and all that. This is a guy who has tremendous upside for frame development, and that's why I think throw in all the other intangibles that he have, and I think that he's a He's a big-time player at the next level.
16 offers despite being quote-unquote undersized.
Right.
That speaks volumes about Kasen Carpenter. Keep an eye on him. Let's go to our commit of the week. Our commit of the week is Amarillo Tascosa, soon-to-be senior defensive end Avion Carter. We've kind of been waiting for this, and what a coup for TCU.
Yep.
As Sonny Dykes reels in Avion Carter over offers from places like Texas and Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. He's the number 25 prospect in the DCTF Hot 100, and this is a really impressive get here for TCU. This guy, we've been talking about him for a few years, and to get him there in Fort Worth is a big-time get for the Frogs.
I agree 100%, and you got to be able to be competitive up front to keep pressure on the quarterback, especially in the Big 12 where, it's like a pass-happy league to me. There are teams that can run the football, and, like Iowa State is an old-school style football team, but by and large, week in and week out, you're going to be facing teams that are throwing the rock around, and this is the type of guy to keep them honest. Explosive first step, really gets after the quarterback, has the size to move around and create mismatches up front, not only at defensive end, but if you wanted to, move him inside to get on an offensive guard and create a mismatch, he can do that as well. He's strong enough. He even plays inside already at Tascosa, so he has experience doing that. And he's going to add a lot of weight to his already 6'4", 260-pound frame. This is a big dude. Dominates the competition out there. And I have to think that the commitment or the signing of Major Everhart last year also played a role in this recruitment. So TCU's doing a really good job out in West Texas and Amarillo with a pair of 4 stars from Tascosa in the last 2 classes.
One thing I think is interesting, TCU has always been known for developing defenders, and especially I would say developing – they've developed them all over the place, but I think of guys in the front 7 that they've done a really good job of developing over the course of the Gary Patterson era. I think it's interesting that they are still getting that, and I don't know what ended up being the deciding factor for Avion Carter. I haven't talked with him, but I will say that it seems like certainly a reputation that TCU has built as a place that you can be an elite defender has carried over to the Sonny Dykes era, and has that they haven't said, oh well, Gary Patterson's gone, I'm a star defensive player, I'm not going to go there. Certainly not the case there for Avion Carter, at least.
No, and you pair him up with Zach Chapman from Fort Bend Marshall. This defensive line class is really coming together. As a matter of fact, the top 4 highest rated commitments: Avion Carter, Cordell Russell, Zach Chapman, Lafayette Kiowa. These are all guys who other in-state power programs coveted, out-of-state power programs coveted. This is starting to become a pretty good class for TCU. It started off probably slow, didn't have a lot of commitments, but they really put their foot down on the gas pedal and are starting to grab some of the top-tier recruits in the state.
It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at #TF Today. Let's move on to our underclassmen of the week. Let's talk about a soon-to-be sophomore athlete out of Colleyville Heritage, Riley Wormley. Riley Wormley went down to Underclassmen Day at Texas, which they called the Texas Elite Bash. Texas Elite Bash. I had to look that up. You had that in the thing. I was like, what's the Texas Elite Bash? It's what they called their Underclassmen Day.
Yep.
He picked up an offer from Texas. He's already got offers from places like SMU, TCU, Tech, UTSA, Arkansas, Oklahoma. Apparently, A&M's probably, it sounds like they're on the verge of offering him as well. But Riley Wormley was a guy who got some pretty decent run as a freshman there at Colleyville Heritage. He went to the SMU camp. He ran a 4.45 in the 40. That will catch some eyeballs. Riley Wormley, a name to know this year, next year, the year after that, and then he goes to college.
You know what? And I've went out to 2 7-on-7 events to try to catch Riley Wormley competing in the spring, and both times he's been on a huge trip to Oklahoma. He's been on a big trip to SMU for camp. So I just keep missing him. Hopeful to still catch him this off season to see how he's developed. But he was a guy who came onto the scene and put up 400 yards against stiff Texas high school football competition as a freshman. And what I really like about him is his balance. He's rated as a running back. I kind of see him as an athlete, a guy who could play wide receiver or running back at the next level, good on special teams, but he racked up over 200 yards catching the rock, and he racked up over 200 yards rushing the rock. So a very versatile weapon for Colleyville Heritage. And they have another guy in that 2025 class that you should really know about, and that's Braden Blewett. Already has an offer from Texas Tech. So the future is bright if you're a Colleyville Heritage fan, and things are just starting to pop off for Riley Wormley.
Of note, Riley Wormley, at least his team, will be in College Station next week. They have qualified for State 7-on-7. So
my third chance. We're going to try to make it happen.
Another opportunity to see Riley Wormley in person, but who knows? He may be going to visit like the Jacksonville Jaguars or something.
Kirk Martin speaks very highly of him. I did have a
Yes.
chance to chop it up with him at the Melissa State qualifier, even though Wormley wasn't there. He put in a good word of recommendation.
That goes a long way when you're talking about a guy like Kirk Martin. Let's round it all out with our recruit of the week. Our recruit of the week, we're going to talk about one of the very best quarterbacks in the class of 2023. That's Dripping Springs 2023 quarterback Austin Novosad. Austin Novosad is presently committed to Baylor. He is, I would say, I don't know if he's the highest rated Baylor commit right now.
He's not, but we're going to talk a little bit about
Yeah.
this, hopefully, in this segment.
I think it's fair to call him at least a real important cog in the Baylor recruiting class right now. I don't know if I'm talking out of school for that. He was an Elite 11 finalist. But things may be getting interesting for us in Novosad, as he has recently picked up an offer from Ohio State and went on an official visit. You always say, Powers, don't listen to what they say, see what they do. When a quarterback visits Ohio State, that's got to be certainly raising some eyebrows, at least Waco way.
Yeah, no doubt. And he's got he's piggybacking the official visit to Ohio State, which was this past weekend, with an official visit to Baylor this weekend. And he's going to compare and contrast those two visits, right on top of one another. So this is a huge weekend for the future of the Baylor program, as I see it, because Austin Novosad is a very talented dude. And I want to kind of segue that into, again, we have really focused on this as many times as possible with the class of 2023. This class is as deep as any class I can remember covering.
Interesting.
Top to bottom. I'm talking about the top 200-ish guys, top 150 to 200 guys. These guys are all studs. And when you go outside of our top 50, and those first-time listeners today, the top 5 in the state are 5 stars. The next 45 up to the top 50 are 4 stars, and if you're outside of that top 50, then you're a 3-star recruit by and large.
Yeah, you're eligible to be a 3-star recruit.
Right.
Yeah.
So Novosad is number 51.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's such a. I almost feel like we need a cheat code.
Yeah.
This year for this year's class, because you look down that list. I mean, I'm just going to name some names like just in the defensive secondary.
Okay.
Right. Warren Roberson.
3-star.
Calvin Simpson Hunt.
DCTF 3-star.
DCTF 3-star. These guys are not even in the top 60.
So let me put you on the spot then, because you mentioned that. You mentioned, and Austin Novosad's pretty special. I think that goes without saying that right now we have him as a 3-star. In a lot of other years, he would be a 4-star, things like that. If we were to remove the top 50 rule, in the sense that if you're, I like the idea of the top 5 or 5 stars, right? Let's keep that in place. But if you were to say, instead of 6 through 50 are 4 stars, if you were to go 6 through wherever you find the cutoff, how many 4 stars would be in this class?
I would personally just.
So right now we have 45.
At a quick glance.
Yeah.
I watched Warren Roberson 2 weeks ago at a state qualifying event. He's a 4-star guy.
And he's
number 74.
So you're talking you would want to extend it at least 24 players.
Right. Or, I mean,
That's
Roberson may move up.
Yeah.
He may move up. But I think he should move up based on what I've seen so far. And we'll get another chance to evaluate him, next week at the state 7-on-7 tournament. But just to go, a few guys in front of him, Jordan Bailey, commitment to TCU from Denton Ryan, one of the most explosive athletes in the state. Easily. Great highlight tape. Vernon Glover, a defensive back with size and offers from all the top schools. Montreal Hatton. You've got to watch him last year at the state 7-on-7 and in season. Stud. Quentin Joyner.
Yeah.
Calvin Simpson Hunt. Riley Van Poppel.
Yeah, Riley Van Poppel, the Argyle kid.
Anthony Evans.
Is a 3-star.
I love Anthony Evans. Speed, technique, sound route. He's probably the best route runner in the state. Number 66 in the state. But just a a sampling of the guys, and to just kind of turn that back into what we were talking about Novosad and why I think he's so important to Baylor's recruiting efforts in 2023. They did not sign a quarterback in 2022. Mm-hmm. That was my one critique of the class. They had put together a great class, but if they would have had a quarterback in that class, it would have bumped them up even higher up the list. And if you go a year or 2 years in a row without signing a top guy, I think that's problematic. There are other top guys in the state, but this isn't a particularly deep year at quarterback. We talk about these other positions and how great a year it is in state. The quarterback talent isn't as good as it was last year, and it's not going to be as good as it is next year. So if they lose Austin Novosad, that's going to be a setback, and it's going to be hard to replace him on that commitment list.
This is really interesting. Like, I'm not just saying that. Like, this is the kind of conversation I like having with you.
Reed McKeska.
He's
number 63. 47 offers. 47 offers.
He's just going to keep reading up names. I love that. He's Greg Powers, the Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter, GPowersScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter, Next Level D1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Stick around because, I don't like to talk about Mike Roach. So.
Okay.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.